Good afternoon, everybody. I'll be discussing the complications and results of 600 plus eyes that we have operated till May 2011. So these were briefly the indications. The total number of eyes were 620 of 558 patients. Male is to female, 277 is to 281, and age ranged from 9 to 86 years. By far the commonest indication was pseudophakic bullous keratopathy with a posterior chamber lens in 373 cases, and next common indication was Fuchs with cataract. The other less common indications were post-PK, 40 cases, aphakic bullous keratopathy, ICE syndrome, congenital hereditary endothelial dystrophy, and posterior polymorphous dystrophy. So coming to the operative complications, we had Descemet's perforation and excessive thick donor, reverse unfolding and damage in 15 cases, and this has required a change with a new button in 12 cases. There was buttonholing and a too thin donor tissue in 12 cases. In these cases, one should handle the button delicately and insert in the anterior chamber and unfold. So coming to the early postoperative complications, pupillary block by air we found in 56 cases. There was secondary glaucoma, injection mannitol was administered, followed by pupillary dilatation. If there was the bubble did not come to the anterior chamber, we took the patient to the operation theatre under topical anesthesia, manipulate through side ports to depress down the iris. Primary graft failure was seen in 7 cases. In these cases, the graft didn't clear within 2 months' time. So after 3 months, a re-dissect was carried out and with very good result. There was interface infection in 5 cases. As you can see, infiltrates over here and infiltrates over here, which increased progressively, needing a replacement of the donor tissue. And the another case, there was interface infection leading to endophthalmitis. Ultimately, that eye had to be eviscerated. So if there is an interface infection, one should consider removing the button urgently and treat the patient with antimicrobials. Wait till the eye is quiet and then re-surgery is considered. And if the infection is not responsive, one should think of urgent therapeutic PK. We found toxic anterior segment syndrome in 4 cases, in which there was severe anterior chamber reaction with the secondary glaucoma. In our series of cases, there was 40 donor dislocation patients, and very interesting to note that in the first 200 cases, the donor dislocation was maximum, followed by a gradual decrease in the number to ultimately, in the last 220 cases, we had only 8 donor dislocations. And the age-wise indication was aphakic bullous keratopathy, the highest number, followed by anterior chamber IOLs. This was because of the fact that there was no capsular support for the air bubble to hold the disc in place. So in case of donor dislocation, one should immediately take the patient again to the operation theatre under topical or light peribulbar. Rebubbling from the side ports is done. Then the donor button is to be centered, the air is to be kept for 10 minutes, and then again, as Dr. Basak has already said, keep again as little as air bubble as possible, and the patient should be in absolute supine position for the next 4 to 6 hours. And in aphakic or anterior chamber IOL cases, rebubbling may not be helpful in all cases. One have to consider full thickness penetrating grafts. So this was how donor dislocation was managed. This was the pre-operative picture, and this was the pre-operative picture with donor dislocation after surgery, and rebubbling was done on the 3rd day, and then on the 6th post-op day the disc was in place. And these are the 10th and 12th post-op photographs with excellent results. In anterior chamber IOL, there was a disc dislocation, and then rebubbling was done on the 4th day, and followed by increased clarity of the graft in the 6th post-op week. So we had total 40 number of total dislocations, and all of them were repositioned, and 26 of them reattached after rebubbling, And again, there was detachment following rebubbling in 14 cases, in which FAK or ACIOL cases was 11 and post-PKs were 3 in number. There was partial non-attachment over here. If you can see the circle over here, and there was a definite space in between the donor disc and the recipient cornea over here. And again, here rebubbling was done, and in some cases you may not be requiring a rebubbling; it automatically gets adhered. So, in coming to early graft failure, it's usually within the first 7 to 21 days. Primary donor failure in 7 cases, failure due to non-attachment, also some failures due to infection in the interface, and endophthalmitis in 3 cases. Management is either by re-dissect or optical PK depending upon the situation. We had to eviscerate 2 eyes following interface infection and endophthalmitis. So coming to post-operative endophthalmitis, in our series there was 3 cases. The host cornea was affected within 24 hours as ring-shaped infiltrates, and after 48 hours a therapeutic PK was performed. Within the next 24 hours there was panophthalmitis, and ultimately the eye had to be eviscerated. And very interestingly, Bacillus cereus was found in the culture, but the mate cornea, the dissect was done, the patient was doing excellent. And Bacillus cereus is also found in culture from the other eye. That means that particular bacteria was present as a normal commensal in that particular individual, and this particular case has been accepted for publication in the Cornea Journal. Now coming to the late post-op complications of 550 patients, follow-up ranging 3 months to 5 years. We had secondary glaucoma in 67 cases, of which 49 were steroid responders and 6 had late secondary angle closure with TAS in 4 cases, and operated glaucoma earlier 6 patients, and ICE syndrome 2 cases. So we had to manage either medically with softer steroids, NSAIDs, and sometimes in some cases surgery was to be needed. In 6 cases a trap with MMC was performed. American glaucoma valve has to be done in 2 cases. In 3 cases the graft failed needing re-dissect, and 2 cases went on to absolute glaucoma, and they ultimately needed cyclocryo. Now coming to secondary glaucoma, again it's sometimes due to donor lenticule adhesion in the periphery, as you can see over here, and in the gonioscopic picture if you can see there is a patch in the periphery in the lower 6 o'clock region. And this is a case of 360-degree donor lenticular adhesion after 4 weeks of dissect. Again, resurgery had to be considered. There is a video over here. The video. So yeah. So we had to undergo a resurgery. Lenticular adhesion was separated. Followed by removal of the disc. As you can see, the iris pigments can be visible all around. And then a new disc was ultimately inserted. And you can see the pictures on the right after re-dissect. So one should not try YAG PI in these cases, as in one of our cases after doing PI there was a detachment in this particular region. Ultimately that case has to be again reoperated, and re-dissect was done in that particular case. In IC syndrome in early cases the results are good. This was a patient of IC, dissect was done, the result was very good. Even after 4 years of follow-up the endothelial cell counts are very high. But in certain IC syndrome cases, one should not consider DSEK. Instead one should consider a full thickness graft because of relentless adhesions of the iris to the donor disc. So this was a re-DSEK done in a late donor failure, and ultimately with a good result after 3 months follow-up after re-DSEK. And graft rejection we had in 8 cases, all were between 11 to 60 months. Medical management with pulse, IV pulse, methylprednisolone was given. Favorable outcome in 5 cases, and 2 cases failed, in which again re-DSEK had to be done. Now total graft failure in our series was 47, with early graft failure in 31 cases and late graft failure in 16 cases. So in summary, repeat surgery in failed cases, 24 we done a repeat surgery, PK after DSEK in 15 cases, cyclocarau 2 cases, and 3 cases had to be eviscerated, had to undergo VR surgery in 2 cases, and 1 case lost to follow-up. Now coming to the results, should consider one, this is a very busy slide, should consider upon 2 areas. One is the astigmatism area, which ranged from 0 to 4.75, and the other is the endothelial cell loss, which was 8.5 to 39.5%, and 81.5% patients regained 618 or better vision with minimum correction after 3 months. So this is a periodic endothelial cell loss in DSEK in our series. At a 5-year follow-up, we had followed up 38 patients, and the percentage endothelial cell loss was 52%, gradually decreasing over the period of time. And according to available reports, at 3 months from the journal search, 3 months the endothelial cell loss was 17 to 25%. At 6 months it was 23 to 34%. At 1 year, 22 to 40%. At the end of 2 years, it was 26.61%. And early endothelial cell loss tends to be slightly higher in endothelial keratoplasty than PK, more because of the fact that the donor disc had to be manipulated through the wound, unfolding, air bubbling and all might lead to more cell loss in the initial few months. And in a series by Price, the median endothelial cell loss in DSEK graft was 53%. In our study, it was 52%. And this is another series of studies showing endothelial cell loss after corneal transplant, in which you should consider upon this study, the cornea donor study. At 5 years, the full thickness, after full thickness penetrating graft, the cell loss was 70%, which was quite high, and compared to 52% in our study. The first patient is doing very well, 4.5 years follow-up, 612 part vision, with Wyme diameter cylinder and endothelial cell density of 748 per square millimeter with no cataract. Thank you very much.